You're a genius on a static chart, but a coward in a live market. You've put in the work, bought the courses, and your charts are covered in perfect markups. You can see the trade setup forming perfectly, but your hands feel like lead when it's time to click buy. This isn't a lack of knowledge, it's a failure of execution. You are an expert at analysis, but a novice at performance. We must stop treating trading like an academic subject and start treating it like a high-stakes sport where your own biology is the primary opponent. Knowledge is the consolation prize for traders who can't pull the trigger. There is a massive chasm between knowing and doing. In Forex, knowledge is cheap. You can find every strategy for free online. But knowing a strategy has a 60% win rate is not the same as having the discipline to sit through the 40% that lose. Most traders fail because they believe the gap can be filled with more information. Confidence doesn't come from more data, it comes from a regulated nervous system that doesn't panic when the red pips show up. Your DNA is hardwired to make you a losing trader. When you look at a historical chart, your prefrontal cortex is in charge. But the moment you put real money on a live trade, control shifts to the amygdala, the lizard brain. To your lizard brain, losing money feels like being hunted by a predator. It triggers fight, flight, or freeze. This is why you freeze and miss entries, or flee and close winners too early. You aren't weak, you are biologically programmed to protect yourself from the very risk required to grow. Being emotionless isn't a superpower, it's a fast track to a blown account. Many think they need to become cold-blooded psychopaths to succeed. They believe feeling nothing is the holy grail. However, research shows that high psychopathy traits, like impulsivity and overconfidence, actually destroy long-term performance. You don't want to be emotionless, you want to be regulated. Psychopaths often blow accounts because they lack the emotional feedback required to respect risk. The goal is to use emotions as data, not as the driver. The 1% don't have better strategies, they have better nervous systems. Professional traders aren't robots, they are masters of regulation. Research points to low emotional reactivity and high stress tolerance as the key markers of success. This means they feel the sting of a loss, but they have the mental hardware to prevent that sting from turning into a revenge trade. They use controlled emotional feedback to manage risk. Your edge isn't your strategy, it's your ability to stay regulated when the market provokes you into a mistake. Your high IQ is the reason you're still broke. Most people in Forex are intelligent and used to being rewarded for being right. But in the market, being right is irrelevant. You can be right about direction and still lose money because of your ego. Smart traders often fail because they try to argue with the price, thinking the market must obey their logic. The disciplined trader doesn't care about being right, they only care about following rules. Intelligence is an ego trap. Discipline is the only thing that pays. You're overthinking your way into an empty bank account. Because you know so much, you start seeing 50 reasons not to take a trade. You see a perfect entry, but then notice a tiny divergence or a news event, and you talk yourself out of it. This is analysis paralysis. By the time you decide the trade is safe, the move has happened. You are trying to find certainty in a game of probability. You must accept that every trade is a risk, and no amount of analysis will ever make it 100% safe or comfortable for your ego. If you're trading for rent money, you've already lost the trade. Scared money cannot trade objectively. When you are desperate, every pip against you feels like a personal attack. This desperation heightens your emotional reactivity, making it impossible to follow the strict rule following that defines the elite. You must lower your lot size until the dollar amount no longer triggers your survival instinct. If you can't trade 0.01 lots with total discipline, you'll never trade 10 lots without losing your mind. Your gut feeling is just greed in a fancy suit. Retail traders love to talk about intuition. In reality, gut feeling is usually just disguised fear or greed. Professional trading is about the strict adherence to rules. If your strategy says entry at X, you enter at X. You don't wait for confirmation that isn't in your plan. You don't feel like it's a fake out. The moment you let instinct override your rules, you are no longer trading, you are gambling. Discipline is doing what you said you would do, long after the mood has left. You aren't looking for profit, you're looking for a hit. Your brain is addicted to the dopamine rush of being in a trade. This is why you click buy even when there is no setup. This impulsivity is a trait that hurts performance. If you feel a rush when you enter a trade, you are doing it wrong. Professional trading should be boring. It should feel like an assembly line in a factory. If you're bored, you're likely following your plan. If you're excited, you're likely over-leveraging and headed for a massive disaster. One trade is a coin flip. 100 trades is a business. You fail because you judge your success on a trade-by-trade basis. If you lose once, you feel like a failure and change your strategy. This is a lack of understanding of probability. Even a 70% win rate can have 10 losses in a row. Professional traders look at results over 100 trades, not one. When you focus on the now, you become reactive. When you focus on the series, you become a business owner. Your job is to provide the sample size for your edge. The chart is always clear when the money isn't on the line. You look at the charts at the end of the day and say, it was so obvious. This is hindsight bias. It's easy to be disciplined when the candles aren't moving, but in the live market, the right side of the chart is blank. Hindsight makes you feel smarter than you are, leading to overconfidence, a trait that research shows hurts performance. Stop beating yourself up for what was obvious in the past and start focusing on what is actually executable in the present. Your biggest win is often the setup for your biggest loss. After a few wins, you start to feel invincible. Your stress tolerance goes up, but so does your impulsivity. You start taking trades that don't fit your criteria because you feel like you can't lose. This is where overconfidence becomes a major liability. The market is waiting for the moment you think you've mastered it to take everything back. You must remain as humble after a 5-trade win streak as you are after a 5-trade loss streak. Stay grounded. You're running $1 million strategy on a 10-cent brain. Trading is 20% strategy and 80% mental hardware. Your hardware is your nervous system's ability to handle the stress of uncertainty. If your hardware is outdated, it doesn't matter how good your strategy is. You need to build low emotional reactivity through practice. This means journaling your emotions during the trade, not just the pips. If you can identify the moment your heart starts racing, you can re-engage your logic before you make a mistake. Your spreadsheet is a lie that keeps you broke. You've seen the math. If I make 2% a day, I'll be a millionaire. This dream is a trap. It puts immense pressure on every trade. When you inevitably have a losing day, the dream is threatened, and you start revenge trading to get back on track. This desperation for the result is the enemy of the process. You cannot force the market to give you a daily paycheck. You can only take what is offered. Forget the millions. Focus on the next 5 minutes of execution. Emotions are your dashboard, not your steering wheel. Successful traders use controlled emotional feedback. They don't ignore feelings. They use them as data. If you feel extreme fear, it might be a signal that your position size is too large. If you feel greed, you might be overextending. Instead of letting these emotions cause impulsivity, use them as indicators to check your risk management. Your emotions are a dashboard. Listen to the warnings, but stay on the path defined by your rules. Don't let a warning light drive the car. If the trade feels safe, you're probably the liquidity. The reason you keep failing is that you are still looking for a strategy that feels comfortable. There is no comfortable strategy. Every profitable system requires you to do things that feel wrong, like buying when everyone else is panicking, or holding a winner when your brain is screaming to take the profit. Comfort is for the 90% who fail. Discomfort is the price of admission for the 10%. Stop searching for comfort and start building a mindset for pain. You get paid for the trades you don't take. In Forex, most of your time should be spent saying no. No, that's not my setup. No, the spread is too high. No, I'm too emotional today. Professional traders exhibit strict rule following, which means doing nothing for hours or days. If you can't handle the boredom of the no, you will eventually succumb to the impulsivity of the yes, and that is where the account blowing trades live. Mastery is found in the stillness of waiting for the perfect moment. The market didn't blow your account, you did. At the end of the day, there is only one person responsible for your empty account, the person in the mirror. You can blame news, brokers, or manipulation, but you clicked the button. You moved the stop loss. This realization is painful, but it is also empowering. If you are the problem, you are also the solution. You don't need a better market, you need a better you. Start taking 100% responsibility for every tick, and you will finally see the growth you desire. Stop being a student and start being an assassin. Tomorrow, don't try to make money. Try to be disciplined. Set a goal to follow your rules perfectly for just 3 trades. No deviations, no feelings, just execution. If you lose all 3 but followed your rules, you had a successful day. If you won but broke your rules, you failed. Rebuild your definition of success around your behavior, not your balance. Focus on the process, and the money will eventually find its way into your account. Stay disciplined.